and get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Megan Peasley, and I am the Iowa SourceLink Program Coordinator here at the University of Northern Iowa's John Papajohn Entrepreneurial Center. Here, we work with the Iowa Economic Development Authority to bring the Iowa SourceLink platform to all business owners. Whether you're looking to start, grow, fund, or even exit your business, Iowa SourceLink is here to help you. We provide step-by-step guides, make helpful referrals to our nearly 400 partners, and house the Iowa Business License Information Center. We also have the pleasure of presenting these webinars in partnership with the Iowa Department of Revenue. In today's webinar, Brett Park will be providing an overview of the requirements for the electronic submission of W-2s and 1099s to the Iowa Department of Revenue. We also have Tara West joining us today, and she'll be answering any questions you have in the Q&A box. Before we get into that, I have a few housekeeping items to go over. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available within the next week. You will receive a link to today's recording in the same email that you will receive as proof of your attendance. In 1 second, today's webinar slides will be shared in the chat box by Connor Trinnell. Connor and I will be sharing other resources and contact information if and when they're brought up during the webinar in the chat box. And finally, please enter any questions that you may have into the Q&A box located in the bottom half of your screen. We do ask that you focus on asking general questions that could apply to everyone. If you have a question specific to your situation, we recommend that you talk to the Department of Revenue directly. We are going to hold off on answering questions that come in until the very end. And with that, Brett, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Megan. So welcome everyone to the 2025 filing of W-2s and 1099s. I'm Brett Park. I run the program for the state of Iowa for the W-2 and 1099 submissions. Without further ado, so just a little quick overview of what we're going to cover today. We do have 7 main topics that we'll go over. New for tax year 2025 filing requirements and due dates, accepted forms, file types, the electronic filing options available, some step-by-step filing instructions and helpful tips, and then some penalty filing extension information, then as well as our available resources. So new for 2025, we didn't change a whole lot this year. The big ones are the 1099 DA that was introduced for the digital asset brokers. That form tax is taken out, a new form this year, and it basically involves cryptocurrency, but there is a state tax layouts that we follow, and the publications that we conform to don't provide the option to file the 1099 DA. We are not requiring that to be filed, even if Iowa taxes were taken out. So if you have that form to file, you can bypass it and not file that to us, as well as the 1042S. That's the foreign person's U.S. source income. Something on that also doesn't need to be required. That's not required to be filed, so you don't have to submit that information to us. Along with the publication 1099s, there was a change with the excess golden parachute payments. We apologize, I had some technical difficulties there. Overview. So we'll have the new for tax year 2025, tax year 2025 filing requirements and due dates, accepted forms and file types, electronic filing options available, and then step-by-step filing instructions, as well as penalty and filing extension information and available resources. So again, we have the 1099 DA form that was introduced this year. It's the digital asset brokers geared towards more like, I think, cryptocurrency. That form was created, and that is not required to be filed for the state of Iowa. Even if there's Iowa taxes taken out, we are not requiring that to be filed with us. The file specs that we follow, the file layouts that we follow, don't have that as an option to submit that via file upload. So therefore, we're not requiring it. The 1042S as well, the foreign person's U.S. source income, subject to withholding. That one as well is not subject or required to be filed with the state of Iowa, even if it has Iowa withholding to it. We are conforming to the publication 1220 again for 1099s. There was a change within the 1220 about excess golden parachute payments. That as well is not being required to be filed because that is on the new system for the IRS that they follow. So again, the excess golden parachute payments are not required to be filed when you're submitting in the 1099 NEC. So again, 1099 DA not required to be filed, 1042S not required to be filed, and then the excess golden parachute payments. That's the biggest new things this year that we're not requiring to be filed. Tax year 2025 filing requirements. Every year we get the VSP, the W-3 or annual reconciliation form, as if it's required to be filed. It is not required to be filed still, so you don't have to submit that information into us. Iowa requires businesses with W-2s and or 1099s to file electronically by February 15th, 2026. So as you can see, the due date is February 15th still, 2026, but you have to take into account the Iowa Code Section 42.9A if the date falls on a weekend or a holiday. So this year, February 15th is a Sunday, and then that Monday is a holiday. So technically, February 17th of 2026 is the actual due date. So just be aware of that when you're going to file your W-2s and 1099s. We do consider W-2s and 1099s separate, and each of them have their own filing requirements. Essentially, there were no filing requirement changes for the W-2 or 1099s besides the exception of the 1099 DA and also the 1042S forms. The department follows the file specifications for SSA publication 42007 for filing W-2s and the IRS publication 1220 for filing 1099s. Both have some additional state requirements, which also can be found on our website at revenue.iowa.gov. Also, we get the questions every year. If you cancel your withholding permit, how do you file your W-2s, 1099s? You will have access to your withholding account for up to 3 years. So you can go onto our GovConnect Iowa website, request access to that withholding account, and still be able to submit your W-2 and 1099 forms. So again, Iowa only requires W-2s and or 1099s containing Iowa tax withholding to be filed. Again, with the exception of the 1099 DA and the 1042S. So just for an example of that, if your business had like 10 W-2s with Iowa tax, or I'm sorry, 5 employees with W-2s with Iowa tax withholding on them, you'd only have to file those 5 W-2s, even if you had maybe 10 employees that didn't. So again, you can certainly submit all 10 employees' information, even though 5 of them only had Iowa withholding on them. But again, we're only requiring the forms that have Iowa withholding listed on. This slide just goes over the 1099 forms we do accept, basically all of the ones that have a state tax field on them. So the biggest ones are going to be the miscellaneous and the NEC and the 1099R. Again, no, the 1099 DA is not on here. Again, we're not requiring that to be filed. So what does Iowa not accept? So we don't accept paper copies. So please don't submit those into the department. Basically, what we'll do is we just discard those. We try to reach out to the person or the business that submitted those into us and let them know, hey, we have an electronic mandate where you have to file these on our GovConnect Iowa website, and we basically discard those paper copies. So please don't send originals because we won't mail those back out, and please don't send paper information to us. The department also does not accept files created on the IRS or SSA website, CD-ROMs, flash drives, or other types of files such as PDFs or spreadsheets. So again, Excel spreadsheets, we don't accept those. We do accept zip files, but they have to be in the correct format. So again, we conform to the publication 42007 for W-2s, and then the publication 1220 for 1099s and W-2G. That file has to be within the correct format, and then you could zip that file, and then we send it in. It can't be a zipped PDF file or a zipped Excel sheet and submit it in that way. It won't be accepted that way. So again, if you're using the file upload method, files must be created using software that supports electronic filing of W-2s and or 1099s to Iowa. So a simple way to confirm that your software supports Iowa, you should have to choose the state of Iowa when creating your W-2 or 1099 files. So when you go in and maybe your accounting software, the software that you purchase, you're doing your file for SSA or IRS to submit that information in. When you go do the state information, you will have to select Iowa in order to create that file for Iowa purposes. So if you're still unsure, then definitely contact your software vendor or even your accounting software to see if they support Iowa filing. Most vendors do, but however, they add additional fees to access the state filing options. So just be aware of that. We also get the question each year, does Iowa participate in combined reporting? Basically what that is would be the IRS or SSA would send the W-2 or 1099 information to us. We do not combine or basically participate in that. We understand that this adds an additional burden placed on the constituents for filing W-2s and 1099s and the requirements that we upheld. But we do appreciate the continued compliance on purchasing them that information and submitting that information into us. The reason why we don't participate in combined reporting is the IRS does not require state information to be presented when filing on their site. Therefore, combined reporting wouldn't really benefit Iowa during the return processing season. So the information being used from these reports allows the department to basically expedite processing of individual tax returns and other returns, and basically increase the output of refunds and combating fraud, which obviously is a good value to Iowa taxpayers. So how do you file your W-2s and 1099s? They must be submitted electronically. Again, we don't accept paper copies or anything in that nature, but we have to have there are two different options as far as submitting your information to us. You can do it yourself by manually entering the forms listed on this slide, or using the manual key option on GovConnect Iowa, or you can do it via the file upload. Basically, you can have it use a service provider and they can submit the forms, or a software vendor to create the file for you. Again, the vendor must support Iowa if you're doing the file upload. We do recommend, again, like I said, checking with your accounting software. They may have the option to buy that, or they may already have included it within your accounting software. We do discourage trying to create the W-2 or 1099 file unless you have like an AXI2 Notepad Plus text file programmer available to assist. The file specs, the file layouts are pretty complex, and the department will not assist in regards to creating the text file for you or providing a template to create that for you. So you're either going to have to choose the manual key option, buy a software to do it yourself, or have somebody that can create that file for you that has that knowledge to do that. So this next few slides, they're going to walk you through how to actually submit the W-2s and 1099s. It'll show the manual key and also the upload method within these next few slides. So like I mentioned, you have to do it electronically, and it has to be done on GovConnect Iowa. So if you haven't been on GovConnect Iowa, please do so. You'll have to create a logon and get connected to your account, but you start here. This is where everyone has to go: service providers, bulk filers, third-party representatives, and tax professionals and businesses. So once you log in, you'll be directed to the accounts page. So this slide would reference a business or a self-filer, what a business would see when they log in and they've connected to their withholding account. So users will need to select the appropriate permit for which they will be filing their W-2s under. So only the withholding permits registered to the business or that they've connected to will be shown. If you do have more than one withholding permit, just make sure that you're choosing the right withholding permit that you're going to be submitting the W-2 or 1099 information under. So as you can see on the screen here, under the account screen, you'll see the withholding count, and then you'll see the submit, W-2s and 1099s link. The web logon must have access to the withholding count in order to see the submit W-2s and 1099s file link. If you log in and you don't see it, then you've not connected or requested access and gained access to that withholding account. So again, you need to have access to your withholding account via your web logon on GovConnect Iowa in order to see the submit W-2s and 1099s. What third parties, tax professionals, those that represent other clients or taxpayers, you will need to then first select your customer that you're working under, and then you would get to this screen as long as you've connected to their account. So that's just an extra step for those third parties, for those tax professionals that represent their clients. Again, cancel permits, you have 3 years to file that information and connect to the withholding account, but you still have to connect to that withholding account in order to see the submit W-2s and 1099s. So this next section, we're going to go over the manual key. So this is the next screen you would see. You either get the file upload submission option or the manual key W-2 or 1099 forms option. I'm going to select manual key W-2 or 1099 forms and select next. This is the first screen that you started entering information into. As you can see, it's the employer information screen. You'll need to select the ID type, enter in the ID information, and then enter the company information, and then the address information. This screen is informational only, so you cannot come here and update like headquarter address or company name or anything like that. That's not what this screen is for. This is just for informational only. Anything with a red asterisk that you come across throughout this process is a required field. You have to enter in information in there. Please double check it, make sure it's the correct information as well. And as well as on the screen, as you see the withholding account number, which is basically this employee state ID number. So you'll hear that a lot, interchangeable, the withholding account number, employee state ID number. Those are the one and the same. So the withholding account number, that will transition or carry over from the prior screen based off of what withholding account you chose if you have multiple. And that will just be there, and it's not being, you won't be able to edit it at that point. So just double check that you're right under the right withholding account. After I'm entered on all the information I need, I select next. And then I get to this screen where I get to choose what forms I want to submit into Manually Key. Form year, that's the year that you're submitting in. If you're submitting older years, you can certainly do that. Starting January, basically 1st, 2026, we'll accept tax year 2025, 2024, and 2023. So again, those 3 years will be accepted January 1st. If you're trying to submit in like tax year 2022 or older, we don't require those to be filed at this time. So you can disregard trying to file those. Again, those older years, 2022 and older, you don't need to submit that information in. We are only accepting tax year 2025, 2024, and 2023 starting in January 1st. So again, you have the options to choose what forms. We have these 6 forms available. These are the most common forms that you would have Iowa tax withholding on. You could choose whichever ones. You could do them all on one session, or you just do one at a time for each session. It's up to you. But after I select the forms I want to submit in on, I select next, and then I get to the section, depending on what forms you chose, where you can enter in the information. So again, this is going to depend on what forms you chose on the prior screen. It might come up 1099, it might come up W-2. So as you progress through this, you'll see the different options. We have made it to where the forms look exactly like the form itself. So if W-2 looks like a W-2 form, the 1099 looks like a 1099 form. Well, we will be collecting data from all fields and all the forms. So information entered includes the employee information and employee earnings. Information entered on the employer's information screen will auto-populate in the employer section for convenience. So as you can see, employer information carried over and you can't edit it from there. If that information is incorrect, you need to go back to that employer information option or that submission section and then update that information there. If you need to add multiple W-2s, you can do that at the bottom of the screen at the where the little red arrow is, add the W-2 there. Otherwise, if you need to delete one, you have in the upper left with the X, you can delete that W-2 there. So after I enter in all my information that I want to enter in, I can select next, and I go here where it's a confirmation screen. So basically just a summary screen. This is going to summarize how many W-2s you're submitting in and the total Iowa income and the total Iowa withholding. Same with the 1099s, as you can see on the example here. Again, this is just the confirmation screen. It's just going to confirm what you're entering in and based off the total amount. This kind of replaces or looks like maybe a W-3 or the annual reconciliation amount or the VSP that we used to have. Again, you'd have that here. This is the information based off of what you've entered so far. If you wanted to copy or print this information, we do not have a print option on this section. There is no print options anywhere within our sections that we provide submissions into. You'd have to do a screenshot of it. Otherwise, you can do a snippet and then save it for your records. So after I've confirmed and everything looks good, I press the I confirm box and check that, and then press next to continue. And then you will get to the submission section where you have to enter in your password and then submit it from there. At any time during this, the save draft section at the bottom, you see next to the cancel button, you can save your draft. Save drafts last for up to 30 days, and then they will be deleted. So if you have multiple W-2s or a lot of 1099s or something you want to enter in, you can definitely use that save draft, come back to it. But again, make sure you're doing that within the 30 days before it's deleted. Okay, next we're going to go over the upload a file section. So again, you have to get connected to that withholding account. You see the submit W-2s, 1099s, and then you select that link, and you get here to the upload file submission or the manual. So for these next few slides, we're going to look at what the upload method is. So I select the upload file submission, and I select next. Here you'll get to a screen where the first thing you will have to do is basically click the add attachment, and a pop-up screen will appear. So you will need to select either W-2 upload or 1099 upload from the drop-down menu under type. The process for W-2 and 1099 upload are the same, so we're just going to go over what W-2 and what a 1099 looks like in this section. So selecting the incorrect type of form will generate multiple errors. So In this example, as you can see on the screen, I'm looking to do a W-2, but if I attach a 1099 file that has the same file layout as a 1099, what it'll do is it'll generate a bunch of errors. We see that, I see that every year as far as someone clicking the wrong file type that they're doing. So just maybe double check if you get the errors that you're clicking the correct form type. Next section that you would complete is the description field. So there is no naming constraints on the description field. It is always suggested to kind of list what form, tax year, to help locate your submission if you're looking for it later on. So for example, tax year 2025 W-2s or 2025 corrected W-2s. For those third parties or those tax professionals that represent another business and file on behalf of another business, maybe you want to put the name of the business that you're filing on behalf. Same thing with the choose the file. That section is where you would go in and a pop-up would appear. So you search your computer for the file, attach the file, and then go from there. The file itself, the name of it doesn't have any formatting. So again, name it what you want. I would, again, it's always suggested to name it something that you know what was submitted on that file. So after you select that, you can press OK and then continue on. On this screen, you will see this is what the error messages will look like. So basically from here, the attached file did not attach. Basically, it detached the file and there's errors within the file that occurred. I would press OK to see the list of errors. And then I get here to the list of errors. So this could be a long list of errors that are represented on the screen. You'd see the little red message, your file is invalid. Please fix the following errors and reattach the file. There is the little export button on the right to, if you have a long list of errors and you want to export that to an Excel sheet, you can certainly do that as well. Most of the errors will be caused by programming flaws and require software developer intervention. There are some errors that maybe the self-filer or the third party would maybe be able to understand to fix. Maybe it's an incorrect ID type or incorrect ID that was entered in, or maybe the tax year or the filing year or something like that was off. Software developer intervention is going to be on a lot of the other ones that you'd see. So if they don't support Iowa and you're trying to submit this into us, you're going to get a whole laundry list of errors, and then you're going to have to figure out from there basically what was going on with it. Get with your software vendor in regards to that. Again, ask them if they support Iowa filing. If you try to submit a Excel or a PDF here, it's going to give you a bunch of errors as well. But again, we follow those certain publications that we conform to that have the file layouts within them, and they have to be in a filing extension .txt in order for it to be accepted within our system. So again, double check with your software vendor. You can also contact the department, and we will assist you. If your software vendor is not able to assist you and they are having trouble with the error codes, you can always have them message csp-bulkfilers@iowa.gov. There's a slide here coming up that will have that information as well on there, and we will be able to assist them within there. So I figure out what the errors are, I correct them, and then I attach the file. So here, as you can see, I get the green message now. Everything is in the right format. It accepts the file, and I can continue on with my submission. As you can see on the screen here, there's 1099 upload as far as the type, the name of it. I named it a certain file name or form name, and then the description I put in there. The size is limited to 100 megabytes. There's only been one entity that we have seen that's reached that or exceeded that. Again, you can zip the file to decrease the size of it, but again, it has to be in the correct form. It has to be the correct file type. Has to also be in the correct format as well as the file layout. So again, like I said, we conform to those publications, and that's what we go off of when we're submitting when these file submissions are being submitted. So if I'm good to go, I can click next. And then I get here to the summary screen again. It's just the upload screens where you're uploading basically confirming how many W-2s you're submitting to us. So on this screen, I'm submitting 15 W-2s. And basically, you can get here and confirm that that's what you're submitting into us. If you need to, you can always go back and reattach a different file or something. But again, I want to select the I confirm. If I want to confirm that's the number of records I want to submit, and select next. And then again, you have to enter then the password and go from there. And then you always have the save draft if you want to. Thing we want to call out if there's any bulk filers on the webinar here is they have a little bit of a different process. So for you self-filers, you have to connect to the withholding account and get access that way in order to see the submit W-2s and 1099s. Bulk filers are those big payroll service providers that file on behalf of a lot of clients on one file. So they have that option to do that. There's a process, there's an application process. You can find that on GovConnect Iowa where you apply to be a bulk filer if that's what you are deemed to be. Again, we vet those and we then do an approval process from there. So bulk filers, they would get approved and then see the submit W-2s 1099 links. They're a little bit different from that. I just want to call that out. If there's any bulk filers in the webinar, you would get that automatically as long as you apply it and are approved. Again, businesses, self-filers, or tax professionals that are filing on behalf of a business, a client, you would need to connect to that withholding account in order to see that submit W-2s and 1099s. Also for bulk filing, the difference between them is when they go in to do manual key, they have to select the withholding account. They have to enter, I'm sorry, they have to enter in the withholding account. This is different to what you've seen in prior slides for like self-filers or third-party representatives. They have to enter that stuff in manually because they're not selecting a withholding account. We do accept the 12-digit permit number still, as well as the 9-digit permit number. Again, that's the employee state ID number, but only withholding accounts that were established prior to GovConnect Iowa becoming live will have the 12-digit number and also the 9-digit number. All withholding accounts now have that 9-digit number, so that starting with a 3, all withholding accounts have that a 9-digit number. It's best practice to start moving towards that 9-digit number only for everything when you're submitting in files and doing key if you're a bulk filer. So after the employer information section, the process is similar to what we went through in the self-filer, third-party tax professionals slides prior. So again, I was only calling out the difference here for the bulk filers. So how do you file corrected or amended W-2 information? So users are not bound to the original filing method when filing corrected forms. You can submit corrected W-2s or 1099s using the W-2 1099 manual key option. If the form options are available, right? So if you originally filed via file upload, you can manually key the corrected information if you want to. So say for example you had 10 employees that you did a file submission on, and one of those employees had incorrect information, you can manually key that one employee's information. You don't have to file upload. You certainly can if you want to. You can certainly include all of the employee's information as well as the corrected information on that one file. We will disregard duplicate information and use the most current or recent information for data purposes. So again, you're not going to hurt anything resubmitting information in. As long as it's duplicate information, we're just going to disregard it. So we get the questions every year of, hey, I don't know if this was submitted in. What do I do? Just go ahead and resubmit the file in, or manually key the information in again. Again, duplicate information will be just disregarded. Incorrect SSN submissions, there's one extra step with this that has to be called out. So if the file or manual key was entered in and submitted in with an incorrect SSN for an employee, you have to go back in and submit 0 information under that incorrect SSN to wipe out that previous data. So that way it doesn't appear under that incorrect SSN information, and then go back in with the correct SSN and correct SSN information, or I'm sorry, correct employee information, and submit that information in. So that way that it wipes out the incorrect SSN information on the prior submission. So penalties and filing extensions and resources. So again, we introduced the penalty a couple of years back for House File 2552. We always like to call this out. It does introduce a $500 civil penalty to each payer for each occurrence. So there's 2 different sections of this House File 2552 that you have to kind of look at. The first 2 bullets, the willful failure to furnish or an employee, non-resident, or other person with an income statement, or willfully furnishing false or fraudulent income statement. That revolves around the first example down below. So basically that is an employee or payer not supplying the W-2s or 1099s to their employee or payee. So again, they never mailed those out to them. So in this example, there was a business with 10 employees. They never sent their W-2s out to their employees via mail, however they would have received them. So it's a $5,000 penalty because it's each employee. So 500 times 10 for each employee. The second portion of that penalty is willfully filing a false or fraudulent income statement with the department, or willfully failure to file an income statement with the department. So this in regards to submitting the W-2 1099 information to the state of Iowa. So in that first example, we have a business with 10 employees. If they do not submit those information, the W-2 information to the state of Iowa, it's a $500 penalty. It could be assessed to them. Again, it may or may not be assessed to them. Get that information in as soon as possible. That goes a long way with us, with the department. So again, if you're filing late or late file, you may or may not get that penalty. This just talks about the penalty information. We also, again, are allowing the 30-day filing extension. This must be filed by the filing due date, which is the 2/15/2026. Again, taking into account to our Iowa code section about holidays and weekends. So technically, really 2/17 is the filing due date, and then you would take 30 days from February 15th, or I'm sorry, February 17th, 2026, and that would be your filing due date. But you must submit a filing extension in order to receive it. So you have to submit that in by the due date in order to be approved for that. And again, you can find that on govconnectiowa.gov. Otherwise, you can find that on our website at revenue.iowa.gov as well. Submitting test files. This is more geared towards our software vendors, payroll service providers. You have to be a bulk filer in order to access our test site. So again, you have to go through that process. Email csp-bulkfilers@iowa.gov with questions about that. If you're wanting to get access to the test site and you want to be a service, or you want to be listed on our website as a service provider, or also become a bulk filer. We do get that question every year from businesses. Our self-filers, can I test the file? Our live site will not allow a bad file to go through that's not in the correct formatting. So you can always test it on the live site if the file is going to be in the correct format. Obviously, it's not going to validate whether or not you're entering in the right information as far as like wages withholding, but it will validate whether or not your file is correct in the correct file layout. This screen just shows you where to go. Again, I mentioned the revenue.iowa.gov. You have the I need to, and then you go to the file a W-2 or 1099. That's a good place to go as far as finding our additional statement requirements based off of the publications that we conform to. It also has FAQ, the common questions that we have. It'll also have this webinar and slides there. So definitely check that out firsthand. And then you can also contact us into our call center. Otherwise, you can email us at idr@iowa.gov, or you can use GovConnect Iowa and then do the send a message. So there's a couple different ways that you can reach us if you're having issues submitting your W-2 1099 information to us. We can certainly answer those questions there. And then just to summarize what we kind of went through already. Again, only forms containing Iowa tax withholding are required to be filed. Again, the exception is the 1099 DA and the 1042S. Those are not required to be filed, even if Iowa tax withholding was listed on them. Users must have access to the withholding count to file W-2s and 1099s on behalf of a business. Tax year 2025 filings are not available until January 2nd, 2026, because January 1st is the New Year's holiday. So just FYI on that. And then 30-day filing extension is available on the department's website. Again, you have to apply for that before the due date in order to receive that filing extension. And again, it's 30 days from February 17th, 2026. And that would be the extended due date. And then failure to comply could result in a civil penalty of $500 or more, depending on what the penalty is for. So, all right. Follow us on social media. We have Facebook, X, YouTube. And that completes the presentation for today. We can open it up for questions now. Tara, was there anything that you thought needed to be answered publicly here?
So I left a couple in the chat that I wasn't sure of.
So Adam, no, we have not explored an API process at this time. Currently, we're still on the old style of publication 1220 and the 42007, and then going through GovConnect Iowa as that portion. So that might be something we explore in the future, but not at this time. So we will still accept Deidre, we will still accept files that have no Iowa polling on them as well. Even other state information within there. Obviously, we don't require that information, but you can certainly send that information into us. Yeah, so this coming year, Reem, we'll send definitely get on our Gov delivery, subscribe to that, and we send updates via the Gov delivery. So any updates to W-2 process or anything like that requirements, we would submit something there, and you get that via the Gov delivery. So or keep on checking our website, the W-2 section. We can do that as well. Yep. So Doug, again, if it has no Iowa withholding on it, then you don't need to, you're not required to submit it. You can certainly submit the information if you want to, but we don't require you to submit it. Again, if there's no Iowa withholding, then you're not required to submit it. So Kim, on the 1042S, there's a different basically publication of specs you have to follow for that. We are planning on doing that next year when we fold into the new system as far as what the IRS is accepting, because basically the publication 1220 is going away. So we'll have to conform to the new style from there. But the 1042S for this year and the previous years we never required. So next year we will require the 1042S going forward. Did you have to message the CSP-bulk filers and see what we can take a look at the file for you to see what's causing because we do accept other states' information as long as it's in the correct format. Again, it could be something with the format on that. So, Marshall, what I mean by that is when you log into your web or your GovConnect Iowa logon, if you do not see your withholding account there, then you have to go and request access to that account. So if we have on our website at revenue.iowa.gov, we have webinars, we have information, FAQs on how to do that. You can also call into our call center, and our agents will walk you through how to request access to that withholding account. So again, if you're a self-filer of a business or a third party representing another business and filing on behalf of them, you have to request access to that withholding account. You'd get an access code in the mail. You'd add that access code under your web logon, and then you'd have access to that withholding account, and then you'd also get the submit W-2s 1099s. Uh, Someone put if the vendor's filing gives filing in Iowa as an option, so it's going to be up to your vendor. So there are vendors out there that will file on your behalf, or there's vendors out there that you have to basically download the software and then create the file yourself. So you're definitely going to have to check with your vendor on that what they do. So they may file on your behalf, they may not. Just double check with them if they're filing or not. If they're not filing. Yes, as long as Atrix basically conforms to the Iowa filing, then you can use Atrix as well. Let's see. I'll have to double check on the submissions from last year. I don't. Tara, do you know, do submissions disappear after a while?
No, so they should still be able to see them. So I would say if you're unable to see those submissions, I would call into taxpayer services. We can help you. Chances are either you weren't the one that submitted them or they were never received.
Thank you for answering that. Yes, so is the e-file format same as the IRS e-filing format publication 1220? Yes. So you'll basically submit in your file to the IRS, but then again, whatever software you're using, or if you're using somebody else, they would have to select Iowa when you're going to create the Iowa file, and that's how basically includes our filing requirements, our extra things that we have that we require on those files. So you can't just submit the IRS file that you submit into them based off the publication 1220 specs. You have to add the Iowa information in there as well when you submit it to us. Yeah, so the 12-digit number is the permit number. So again, we accept the 12-digit permit number on the file uploads as well as manual key and also the 9-digit. The 12-digit was basically the permit numbers was a 12-digit number prior to GovConnect Iowa being introduced. So 11/15/2021 back then. Anybody that had a withholding account prior to 2021 November would have had carried over the 12-digit permit number. But again, all of those 12-digit permitters got a 9-digit permit number as well along with them. So again, everybody has that 9-digit permit number. So definitely start using that 9-digit permit number going forward. Again, that's the employer state ID number that you would see on your W-2 or 1099. It's referenced the same. So the withholding account number is the employer state ID. Okay. Megan, I think that's it for the Q&As.
Yep, that's all I'm seeing on my side too. Let's go ahead and if there are no other questions, we will finish up the webinar. Unless, was there any other topics that you wanted to talk about really quick?
Nothing at this time. I appreciate everybody's time today. Again, contact us if you have any issues or questions during filing season. We are more than happy to assist. I appreciate your time today, everyone.
There was, oh, never mind, that was taken care of. Okay, I will go ahead and finish this off then. Thank you again to Tara and Brett for sharing all of this information with us and answering everyone's questions. As a reminder, this webinar was recorded and will be available to watch on our website or by searching Iowa SourceLink on YouTube within the next week. If your question was not answered today, you can contact the Iowa Department of Revenue with that contact information that was in the slides for more information. As a reminder, Iowa SourceLink does not provide a continuing education certificate for your attendance here today. We do, however, send out an email to everyone who participated within a few days of the webinar's conclusion that you can use as proof of your attendance. You will get a email with all of the information from today that was just in the Q&A box. Today's webinar was the last Iowa Department of Revenue webinar for the 2025 season. Follow Iowa SourceLink on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram to stay up to date for when the 2026 tax webinar season will be announced. In the meantime, join us next week for our last webinar of 2025 on Wednesday, December 17th at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Todd Hutchinson of Advanced Iowa will return to discuss strategic business planning. Check out the registration link for more information by visiting iowasourcelink.com and navigating to our tax webinar page. Until next time, have a great rest of your day, and thank you all for joining us today.